Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a prototype of the upcoming game Harsh Shadows from designer Rachel Bruner that's going to be hitting Kickstarter later this month. I'm really excited to be able to cover this one because this is going to be the first game published by the new publishing company Wonderspell that's being founded by Jason Tagmeyer, which is a name you might recognize from his other publishing company, Buttonshy, and also Jason Greeno, a designer who you might recognize for his recent Starforge that was just kickstarted with Poketo Games, but also for his work with Buttonshy Games on things like Chainmail, and also for the website pnparcade.com, which he runs with Jason Tagmeyer as well. What Jason Tagmeyer and Jason Greeno are trying to do with this company is sort of create a cinematic feel in all of their games, with strong themes, striking visuals, and immersive gameplay that really pulls the player into the world that they're playing in and gives them a sort of movie experience as they play. Will Harsh Shadows live up to this strong goal? Join me for a playthrough to find out. But before we head down to the table, I do want to mention quickly that I did receive a prototype of this game from the publisher, but as always I will do my best to give you my true feelings on the game. And with that being said, let's head down to the table to see how it plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Harsh Shadows, begin by taking the location cards, shuffling them, and placing them on the table in a 3x3 grid, leaving about a card's width in between each column. And then all of the locations except for the center location will be turned face up. Next, take both the agent and spy cards and choose the side that you would like to use for your playthrough. I'll be using these two. The agent will be placed down here on the lower right card, with the bottom text still showing on the card, and the spy will be placed up here on the upper left card in the same manner. Next, you will take the discovery deck and remove the 4 bomb cards and shuffle the remaining cards. From these cards, you're going to select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. And with those 8 cards, you will add 1 bomb card into that group, and again, shuffle those cards. You should then take those 9 cards and place one of them at each of the locations to the right of the location card, face down, like this. Then take the remaining discovery cards and add the other 3 bombs into this deck randomly, and then give that a good shuffle. And place that deck off to the side. You will then take the movement deck for the spy and give those cards a good shuffle, rotating about half of those cards and continuing to shuffle. And those will also be placed off to the side of the board. Next, you will set up your 3 areas of confiscated items. We've got evidence, a red herring, and false leads. So set these 3 cards off to the side of the play area. Shuffle the confiscated item cards, and then place a number of confiscated item cards below each card as is written on the top. So the red herring will get 1, the evidence will get 3, and the false items will get 4. So I'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, place that under the false leads. 1, 2, 3 will be placed under the evidence card. And finally, this last card will be placed under my red herring card. Finally, on the side of the play area, you can also set this countdown card, this bomb defuse kit card, and this tracking bug card, which you will need during the play. So in Harsh Shadows, you will play the role of the agent, tracking down the spy, gathering evidence along the way, placing a tracking bug on the spy to sort of follow their whereabouts, and eventually confronting them with the proper evidence to capture them at the end of the game. In addition to finding the correct evidence, we also need to know what this red herring is, because if we capture them, even if we have the correct evidence, to accuse them. If we have the red herring item, we will also lose. The other ways that we can lose is if we end up in the same space as the spy and we don't have any cards to discard, or if we turn over a bomb card and also cannot discard, that will also trigger the immediate end of the game. But I'll explain that a little bit more as we get into how the game plays. So on every turn, I am going to be controlling the agent, and I start every turn by taking a move action. And a move action means I can move in any of the 8 directions surrounding the location that I'm in right now. So in this case, I could move up, I could move up here diagonally, or I could move to the left. And after I've made my move, I will reveal the discovery card at that location. And the discovery cards are going to be one of 3 different types. They could be an item, they could be a clue or a multiple clue card, or they could be a bomb. If I turn over an item or a clue, I take that item or clue into my own personal inventory. However, if we turn over a bomb, we have to immediately discard a card from our personal set of cards. Means we have to either discard an item card or a clue card to prevent that bomb from killing us. However, we do start the game with 1 bomb defuse kit. So that means even if we find the bomb before we've found any cards that we can discard, we can use this once, turning over this card to defuse that bomb. But for that point on, we cannot use this card anymore. And in that case, we will need cards to discard to prevent losing the game from a bomb that we reveal. In addition to that move action, there are 4 free actions that we can choose to use once per turn during our turn. And those are, we can use clue cards to look at some of the confiscated items in these categories. In order to look at the false leads, we need to spend 1 clue card, and we can turn over one of the false lead items. In order to look at the evidence, we need to spend 2 clues, and that could be a double clue card or 2 single clue cards. And to look at the red herring, it's going to cost 3 clues to look at that card, or if we've already revealed at least 1 evidence card, it will only cost 1 card. And again, in order for us to win the game, we have to have in our hand all 3 of the evidence items and not have the red herring item. And also, when we run into a bomb or when we occupy the same space as the spy, we will need to discard cards. So if we can identify what the false leads are, we know which cards are safe for us to get rid of. And more importantly, if we can identify what the red herring is, we can intentionally discard that card to prevent the bomb exploding or to step into the same space as the spy intentionally to get rid of that red herring so that we don't have it in our hand at the end of the game. The next free action that we can do is placing the tracking bug. In order to win the game, we have to have gotten this tracking bug onto the spy before we present the evidence to accuse them of the crime. And in order to do that, on our turn, we can place this tracking bug at our current location. However, you'll notice that some of the locations have this symbol. And that's because those locations have security systems or what have you that would sort of prevent you from being able to leave a tracking bug at that location. So there are several locations: this casino, this bank, and this post office where we cannot place this tracking bug. But otherwise, the other locations are okay, and we can leave this tracking bug at any of those locations while we are there. And then later in the game, if the spy steps on a location that has that tracking bug, it will basically stick itself to the spy. We will turn over this card to show that it is active. And from that point on, up to 2 times in the remainder of the game, we can activate this tracking bug card to take a look at the next movement card of the spy, so we can see where they are moving and sort of understand more information about the movement patterns of the spy before we take our turn. And again, as I mentioned, we do need to make sure that's on the spy before we make our accusation, or we cannot win the game. Our final free action is to use the ability at the location. And all of the locations aside from the face down center location have abilities that we can activate. But you can only activate the ability at a location after we have taken our move action. So we can only activate the ability of the location that we move to on our turn. So I'm going to quickly show you the 8 abilities that we have available to us in this play. The first location is Sunrise Park, and it says if we activate this card when the spy is on the run, I'll explain this in a minute, we can reverse the countdown card once. So this ability is going to allow us to extend sort of the end game piece of our playthrough. And when we do that, we need to flip the card to show that it's been activated, because each of these can only be used once unless it says otherwise. Next, the bus station says on your next turn you may move to any other location. Flip this card. So it's kind of like a fast track movement. As I said before, you need to move to one of the 8 connecting locations, but if we use this ability, we can move to any location on the board. Next is the Crystal Globe Casino, which says if we activate this during the spy's next turn, they may only move diagonally. So we can use this to sort of save ourselves from the spy moving into our space, because as I said, when they move into our space, we will need to discard a card. Or we could potentially use this card to make the spy move onto the location that has the tracking bug. The Paragon Bank says that if we activate this card, during the spy's next turn, they only move left or right. So this is just like the casino, only they're moving in a different direction. Next, we've got the Post Office, which says if I activate this card during the spy's next turn, they only move up or down. So similar just to the casino and the bank, only this time vertical movement up and down is allowed by the card. The Hotel, again, this says activate, rotate this card. While it's rotated, an adjacent spy must move here on their turn, and then we flip the card. So this is sort of a pre-activation. When we're there, we tap this card, we turn it sideways, and then later, if the spy is next to this card, they must move to this card. So this is a great way for us to leave the tracking bug and force the spy to come here to be bugged. Next is the Cafe. The Cafe says when we activate this during the spy's next turn, they do not move locations. So this could be a very good one for us to sort of clear the area so that we're not standing next to the spy and therefore they can't step on us and make us use one of our cards. And finally, the Royal Library, which says activate this card. Confiscated item cards then cost 1 less clue to reveal, at a minimum of 1 clue, and then we flip this card, which means if we're at this location and we use the ability, the red herring would cost 2 clues if we hadn't found an evidence card, and the evidence would only cost 1 clue to find one of the evidence cards. So again, on my turn, I'm going to move one location that's either adjacent, orthogonally, or diagonally. Either before moving or after moving, we can use clues to identify some of the items. We can place the tracking bug. We can activate the tracking bug. And or, after moving, we can activate the ability at our new location. After we've taken our movement, we're going to turn over the top card of this deck. And this card is going to show us how the spy moves. After the spy moves, wherever the new location is, we will place one more discovery card at that location, placing them under any cards that are already there. But each location can only ever have a maximum of 2 discovery cards. When these discovery cards completely run out, we're going to start using this countdown card. And every time the spy would move to a location that has no discovery cards and would need to place a discovery card, this is going to tick down 1 number. And when this gets to 0, if we haven't managed to catch the spy and accuse them with the correct evidence, we immediately lose the game. Alright, so I hope you understand now generally how the game is played, and of course I will explain everything I'm doing as I play, and I will fill in some small details here and there, specifically with the spy movement, since we haven't talked much about that yet, as we go through the game. So I'm starting down here in the corner. And as much as possible until I need to be close to the spy, I would like to get stay as far away from the spy as possible. So I don't want to go to this location for a few reasons. There is no ability here, and there's a potential chance that the spy will move in this direction on her next turn, and I don't want to be there when that happens. So I'm not going to go here, because the spy will always also move one space just like we do. So I could go here, which will allow me to go anywhere, or I could go here to spend one less clue for items, but right now I don't really care about either of those things. So I am just going to go to the bus station. And as I said, when you go to a location, you immediately reveal the top discovery card. And we got lucky. This is a clue card. So these are the cards that we will be spending to see some of the cards down here. Now, there's always a chance that I find a bomb. There's always a chance that the spy comes into my location. So it's a good idea to always have at least one card to discard so I don't lose the game for not being able to do that. So while I would love to spend this clue to find out one of the false leads, I'm going to hold on to this card for now. And now that we are done our turn, I'm not going to activate this card because I don't really have any need to move far across the board for now. So we will turn over the top movement card and we will see how the spy moves. So you'll see on these cards there are two arrows. And what we're going to do is this. First, we're going to use this big arrow to determine the direction that the spy will move. If for some reason, based on the spy's location, that movement is not possible, they will then use this bottom right corner arrow. And if this still cannot make that movement, the card will be rotated 180 degrees and they will make use of the big arrow. But in this case, we can move in this direction. This spy will move down diagonally to this spot. So I am very glad that I decided not to go there. They move here, and one more discovery card will be added below that card. And now I do need to be a little bit concerned that the spy might come to get me. And I think what I would like to do is this. I am going to move up here, which means I immediately reveal this card, which is a passport. This is one of our items. Now this could be a piece of evidence, this could be a red herring, or this could be a useless false lead. In either case, we should hold on to this for now until we have more information to identify that. Because if I do throw away a piece of evidence, I cannot win the game. And as soon as I find out that I have done that, the game will end immediately. So I want to hold on to all of these items until I'm sure that they're not important. Now, the ability at this location says if I activate it during the spy's next turn, they can only move left or right. So if I use that, I know for sure she will not come to my space, and that's very, very important. So I am going to use that ability, turning over the card. And now we're going to reveal movement cards until we find one that goes either left or right. Okay, so this one, the main arrow is up to the left. She cannot do that because I've managed to activate an ability that forces her to move left or right. But the secondary action here is moving to the right. So she will move to the right, and she will add a discovery card at that location. I'm going to set my hand off screen, but I will pull them back out every time we use them for anything. All right. So I do want to get away from her as far as possible. She only moves one space, so I'm going to move to either of these two locations. And I don't really need to force her to go anywhere strange. But I am going to set up that trap that I mentioned before. So I'm going to go to the hotel. I will turn over this card, which is another clue. That's great. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But before we talk about that, I'm going to go ahead and place the tracking bug at this location. And I'm going to activate the ability, because remember, this is the location where if I activate the ability, next time the spy is next to this location, on their turn, they're going to need to move to this location. So I'm setting up a trap with the tracking bug at that location. And now I have two pieces of evidence, or sorry, two clues, and I still have that passport. I don't know if that passport is useful or not yet. So I would probably like to keep one of these clues, but I'm going to spend one clue, discarding that here, to reveal one of our false leads. So our first false lead is the gun. So if I can find a gun, I know I do not need that to win the game. So I can discard that to protect myself from a bomb or to protect myself from the spy if they move into my location. So I'm actually going to put that, see if we can do this, face up like that underneath. So we don't take a whole lot of space, but we can see gun is one of our false leads. All right, then the spy is going to move. We will flip over the top card. So in this case, the spy cannot move that way, and they also cannot move down to the right. So we're going to rotate this card, and the spy will move down to the left, moving here, and placing one more discovery card there. And now the spy is adjacent to this location, so the next turn they will be moving here. So I'm going to move here because I know it's safe, and then I can get further away on my next turn. We look at this first discovery card. We've got another clue. So I'm actually going to use this clue to find out one more piece of our false leads. So the next one we get is the coded message. So I know both the gun and the coded message are safe to get rid of. But we still don't have any information about the passport that I found. So on this turn, we know that the spy is going to move to this location, which means that we've now activated our tracking bug. And I'll set that down here. It's now active, means we can use that to track them twice in upcoming turns. And also the spy will add a new discovery card here. And I'm going to move up to the casino, and we will reveal this card. We've got the laptop. I still have no information about laptop, so this could be either the red herring, a piece of evidence, or a false lead, but we'll hold on to it for now. And then the spy is going to move. This should be flipped over because we finished using its ability. And the spy moves down, and again is going to add a card to that location. And I'd like to stay away as much as possible still, so we will move to the bus station and take a look at this card. And we've got another clue. I am going to use this clue to get one more false lead. And our next false lead is the passport. This is great because now I know if I spend that other clue that I still have, I can still discard a passport to protect myself from the bomb or from the spy. So that's a great piece of information to have. So we've got a gun, a passport, and the coded message are all false leads. I don't have any need to travel long distance with the bus, so I'm not going to activate that. So next, the spy will move, and she's going to move directly up to this location, and again, add a discovery card at that location. Now, I know one of the original locations has a bomb, and I believe the only two original locations I haven't been to, no, maybe three. I think this whole bottom row I haven't been to yet, so there is a bomb at the top of one of those three. But I still want to stay far away from her. I haven't used the bomb defuse kit, and I do have that passport that I can get rid of, and potentially I could also get rid of that clue card if I need to. So I'm going to come down to Sunrise Park. There is our first bomb. Now, I know that I have cards that I can discard, and I could discard that passport to prevent myself from being damaged by this bomb. But I'm doing pretty well, and we haven't used our bomb defuse kit, and I wouldn't mind keeping a card to protect myself from the spy if she moves into my location. So I'm going to use this bomb defuse kit, deactivating this card, but I don't take any damage, meaning I don't lose the game for having revealed that bomb. And then, yeah, I know the passport is safe to discard, so I am going to use my clue to find the final false lead, which we are going to see is the laptop, which is both great news and bad news. This is great news because now I know that both my passport and my laptop are useless and can be discarded to protect me. It's bad news, however, because I need to now find all of the evidence that I still need in order to accuse the spy at the end. So we've got 4 false leads, which are the laptop, the gun, the passport, and the coded message. All right, so the spy moves to the right. So she moves here, and she will add a discovery card at that location. And I would prefer not to be attacked by her this coming turn. So it's the start of my turn. I'm going to use this tracking bug once. I'll turn it to the side to remember I used it once. To peek at the next card so I know exactly where she's going next. And she will be going back to this location. So I don't mind going here because it will be safe for at least one turn. So I'm going to the library. I will look at the top card, and we've got some photographs. Now, these photographs are not a false lead, but they could be the red herring. And if we have the red herring in our hand at the end of the game, we are in trouble. So I do need to find at least 2 clues, right? This costs 3 clues because we haven't revealed any evidence cards. But if we use the ability at this location, it's only going to cost us 2. So we still need to find 2 clues. I'm going to set this off and remember that this is potentially a useful card. And we'll come back to that. We know that these 2 are not, so we can safely discard these if needed. But already I know for now that the spy is moving to the left. Now this location already has 2 cards, so she does not add anything more. And now is where I'm a little bit worried, because any of these 3 locations could be somewhere that she's going to attack. So I am going to use the tracking bug one last time. This means I can't use it anymore. She's still bugged, so I can still win the game, but I cannot use it to see where she's going next. But I will this turn, and she is going to be going down here. So I'm going to move up to the center space, check this card, which is another bomb. So now I do need to discard a card, but that's okay because we have 2 items, one of which is this passport that we can discard safely because we know it's a false lead. And then she moves down. She cannot move down to the left, so she's going to move straight down. This location again already has 2 cards, so she will not add anything there. And now it is safe for me to move up to this top corner, and I will reveal this card, which is a clue, which is great, but I need at least 2 or possibly 3 clues in order to find out what this red herring is. So we're going to hold on to that clue for now. Also, the ability at my location now is going to make her move up or down, which would force her to move up. And that's not good for me. But we are at the end of our spy movement cards, so we do need to reshuffle these. Again, taking about half of them and spinning them around. And we will turn over the next card. She is moving up and to the left, cannot. Down and to the left, cannot. Down and to the right, cannot. So she will move up and to the right. And add a discovery card to that location. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. I'm going to have to move down. I do need to move. I'm required to move, so I've got to go here or here and hope that she doesn't get me. Here, there's no discovery card, so it's useless for me. So I will move down here, and I will reveal this top card, which are binoculars. Again, we don't know if this is a piece of evidence or a red herring, but it's nice for me to have, so I'm happy to have that. I do know that I still have the laptop and the clue card, so I'm safe if she does move into my location. And we turn over the card. She's going up and to the right. Means she will move here and add 1 discovery card there. So I will try and stay as far away as possible. I'm going to move down here. And I will turn over this top card, which is another clue. This is great because if I can get one more of these, I'll have an extra clue if I go to the library and I use that ability to spend only 2 to check out the red herring. So I'm happy with that. Now I am going to use my location, which says during the spy's turn, they do not move location. So we're gonna flip this over. And the spy does not get a movement this turn. Because I know this bottom row is safe because she can't get there on her next turn. So I am going to move here and we'll turn over this card, which is a gun, which we know is also one that we can get rid of. This is a false lead. So now I'm extra protected. Now I know that it's safe for me to spend those 2 clues. And if I activate the library location, I can spend those 2 clues to find out what is the red herring. So in this case, the red herring is the photographs, which we have. So I know that if we end up in the same location as the spy, or if I find a bomb, I'm going to get rid of the photographs first, because if they are in my hand at the end of the game, I will lose. So that's a great piece of information to have. But we also now know that the binoculars I have, and whatever 2 items I don't have, or 2 items that aren't listed here that I don't have, are the correct pieces of evidence. So I do need to keep searching for those, as well as getting rid of the photographs and remaining alive until we catch her. But that was a great help for this turn. So we're going to see where she moves next. She's going, can't go down into the right, so she is moving directly left. And she will add a discovery card there. Yeah. I don't want to go up because there's a chance she'll come down and get me. I'm going to go over here because it's safe and I find out what this card is. This card is a coded message. A coded message is another one that we need to get rid of. So what this is looking like is I'm pretty well protected from her and from bombs, but I better hurry up and start finding the correct evidence or we're going to start running out of time near the end of the game. So again, right now, the gun, the laptop, and the coded message that I have are useless. The photographs is the red herring that I need to get rid of, and the binoculars are one of my 3 pieces of evidence that I need. Let's see where she goes next. She cannot go up, so she will go left. So she goes here and adds a discovery card. Now there are only 2 left in this deck, so we are getting closer and closer to that countdown card activating. I'm going to move up here to the center spot. We've got a hidden camera. Now a hidden camera is not our red herring, and it's not one of the 4 false leads. That means this is the second piece of 3 of the evidence that I do need to have to win the game. So I need to find one more piece of evidence, but I also need to either deactivate a bomb or step on the same location as her without the right items in order to get rid of those photographs. So she's going to move straight down here, and she will place a card in that location. And I'm actually going to be risky. I'm going to intentionally move into her space because I know that I don't have the right cards to accuse yet. But because we're sharing the same space, I will need to discard a card. So I'm going to get rid of those photographs so that red herring is no longer in my hand. I do get to look at this card, which is now mine, and it is a phone, which is not one of those pieces of false leads that I already know about. So this must be my 3rd and final piece of evidence. Now I cannot accuse her now because this is already my turn. but I know that I can follow on the next turn to accuse the spy, and then she is going to move. So she will move to the right here, placing one more card, which does activate the countdown. But I now have what I believe, or I'm pretty sure, unless I've made a silly mistake that I didn't catch, the 3 pieces of evidence should be the hidden camera, the binoculars, and the phone. The photographs were the red herring, and I've gotten rid of them. So I am going to move to her location, make the final accusation. So we're going to look at the 3 pieces of evidence, and they should be the phone, the binoculars, and the hidden camera. So those 3 are the correct pieces of evidence. I have those 3 cards, so I have successfully accused the spy and have won the game. So while we're down here, I do like to take a look at the component. Now this is a prototype version of the game. So everything you see here, while they are very nice cards and they have been printed professionally, these may or may not be representative of the final cards that will be in the Kickstarter campaign in April. So I cannot comment on the card quality. I also don't have the box that this game comes in. It was sent to me in a Ziploc bag, so I don't have any sort of packaging to show you. I do know that it will be in a tuck box, but I don't know what that's going to look like, how the instructions will be included, and so on. So I can't comment on any of that. All I can comment on for right now is the artwork, and you can see the artwork. You've seen the artwork in my play so far. I really like the artwork here. I do know that Wonderspell is aiming to sort of have a cinematic feel in their games, and I really feel that cinematic feel in this artwork. Particularly these location cards, the artwork on them is very well done, and it's very evocative of the locations that they're representing, and I really like the artwork here. One thing I should point out, these cards, as I mentioned at the beginning, are double-sided, and I do like to see there's quite a bit of representation in this game. We've got men and women, we've got black, white, Hispanic. There's lots of representation in this game, and I'm very happy to see there's no real reason to have multiple agents and spies because they don't have any unique abilities. This is simply just to have different options for the characters that you're using in the game, and I really like to see that. So that's very cool to me. Otherwise, there's not much else that I can say about the components. So meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. Before we get into my thoughts though, I do want to just make a bit of a disclaimer here that the difficulty of the game is not necessarily as easy as it looked in that playthrough. I have played this game several times, many times in fact, and many of those times I've lost the game. Sometimes very early in the game, sometimes right at the very end of the game. But the difficulty of this game is there enough to make the game challenging. I don't want you to think that this is sort of just a play it out and let it finish kind of game. There is a lot of challenge in this game, and I didn't want to give a false hope of, or a false sense of, really easy difficulty level. I've also been playing this game a lot, so it could be now that I'm understanding how the game plays better and I'm just doing well through experience. But with that being said, let's get into how I feel about the game. And this is a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I do have some issues with this game, but there's also a lot that I really enjoy about this game. So we'll get into both of those things. But I want to start with the issues first, because my biggest issue with the game ties directly into that sort of disclaimer that I just gave you about the difficulty level. And that is, there is quite a bit of luck in the cards in this game. There are 2 sets of cards that are coming out, right? You've got those discovery cards that you're turning over every time you go to a location, and you've got those cards that are hidden under the evidence card and the sort of useless junk card and the red herring card. And how those cards come up really is going to affect how difficult that specific instance of the game is going to be, right? If every time I turn over a card and it's a bomb, that means I really have to have the cards to deal with the bombs that are exploding. If every card I turn over is a clue card, well, then I have a lot of clues to start looking at those hidden cards. If every card I turn over is an item card, that could be bad or good depending on if I understand which items I can get rid of or if I'm getting rid of items that ultimately are going to be the evidence that I need to win the game. Likewise, when I start looking at those hidden cards, if those hidden cards are cards that I already have in my hand, that gives me a lot more useful information than if those hidden cards are cards that I haven't seen yet and I have to search for, especially if it's the useless cards, because it's very useful to know that one of the cards I have I can get rid of easily, but it's less useful if I know that one of the cards that I haven't found yet is a card that I can get rid of easily. So there is a little bit of luck to the game based on how these cards are coming up. That said, there is quite a bit you can do to mitigate that luck, so that doesn't destroy the game. That's not a game-breaking flaw. And while we're talking about this luck, I want to talk about the positives of this luck too, because there are some positives of this luck. The sort of 2 or 3 main mechanisms in this game are going to be a push your luck mechanic, going to be a sort of set collection or hand management mechanic, and then also going to be this sort of cat and mouse chase game with the spy on the location map. So let's talk about the push your luck while we're talking about the luck, because the push your luck is a very interesting piece of this game, because I don't know what's coming out of those discovery cards. I don't know what's coming out of those hidden cards that I'm trying to find out by spending clues. So that means I need to sort of think about, where do I want to go? For example, I know the first 9 cards have 1 bomb in them. If I've already found that bomb and I can remember what are the other locations that I haven't been to yet, I know that it's safe to go to those other locations because there won't be a bomb, at least until I've turned over the first discovery card in each of those locations. But if I don't want to go there because the spy is in the way, then I'm going to push my luck to go somewhere else and hope that there isn't a bomb there. Likewise, with the spy moving around the board, early in the game, I don't want to share a position with the spy because I'm going to have to get rid of one of the cards in my hand. So it's another push your luck puzzle there, that you're trying to sort of predict where the spy is going to go, but when you end up in a space that could be next to the spy, and you have to choose from 2 other spaces that could be next to the spy, there's another sort of push your luck piece to the game. But all of this pulls into this great sort of tension that the game is giving you. And it really does feel like you're sort of on this edge, trying to pursue the spy, but also constantly on the lookout that things are going to be happening to you. And that really pulls you into the theme of the game as well. So there's also this sort of hand management piece and this sort of cat and mouse chase piece. So let's talk about the hand management, because that ties directly into this push your luck, or into this idea of which clues to spend when and what to buy and so on. This is a really interesting piece of the game, because you can use your clues to find the red herring, you can use the clues to find the evidence that you need, and you can use the clues to find the ones that you don't have any use for at all. And this is an interesting puzzle, because if I find one of the evidence first, then the red herring is cheaper. And I need to know which evidence I need, or I need to know everything that I don't need in order to figure out what are the 3 pieces, and only 3 pieces, that I need to win the game. So I need to think about, which cards do I have in my hand? Are they a lot of items? Are they a lot of clues? If I have a lot of clues, that's a little bit safe, because I can always get rid of a clue when I get hit with a bomb or when the spy moves into my position, because a clue is a clue and I can get more clues later. But if it's an item and I only have a bunch of items and I hit a bomb or I hit the spy, I better hope that I know which items are useful, because if I throw away one of the pieces of evidence and then later on find out that that's one of the pieces of evidence, then that's game over and I've lost. So I really need to pay attention to my hand, and I need to really pay attention to, when is it safe to spend a clue? Do I know that I have another card that I can throw away if needed? And is it safe for me to throw this clue and not hold on to it to be able to discard it later? And then we need to start thinking about, which of the hidden cards are we going to turn over? If I have a lot of items in my hand, I might go for those useless items and hope that whatever I turn over is going to be one of the items in my hand. Because if that's true, then I know immediately, okay, this is great. I've got protection from bombs and from the spy, and now I can focus on figuring other things out. But if I have a lot of clues and I don't have those items, then maybe I'm going to start going for the evidence first, so I can start figuring out what are the things that I need to find in the locations on the map. So this puzzle of managing the cards in your hand, figuring out which of the hidden items to reveal first, and figuring out how to protect yourself from any negatives that are coming along the way is a really, really interesting, really fun puzzle. So the last piece is this cat and mouse chase. That's sort of you following the spy around the board, but also staying far enough from the spy so that they don't hurt you in the process. And this is really cool. This is where the abilities on the locations come into play. And the more I play this game, the more I realize how important those abilities are. When I first started playing this game, I saw those abilities as a way for me to isolate myself from the spy and prevent needing to discard cards during the game, right? If I'm over here in a corner and the spy is next to me over here, I want to hope that I have that ability that makes the spy move only up and down or only diagonal, because then they can't come to my space. And I can use that card to make sure they don't come into my location. The one location we didn't see in my playthrough is actually a location that allows you to share the same space with the spy for one round. You would then flip over the card activating the ability and not need to discard a card. So that's a cool place that you can hide out if you need to. But the other thing I've realized, and this is something we haven't talked about yet in this sort of final thoughts, is that there is a timer on this game. And as the spy is moving around, he's placing discovery cards, or she's placing discovery cards out on the board. And when those all run out, anytime the spy goes to an empty location, you're ticking down a timer. And if that timer ever hits 0, that's game over. So you do need to sort of rush to get things done. You do need to make sure that you get that tracking bug on the spy. You do need to make sure that once you've got the items that you need and you've eliminated that red herring, that you're in a location that you can catch the spy. I've played games where I chased the spy around in circles and the time ran out and I lost. I've played another game where the spy never stepped on the space where I had placed the tracking bug. So I couldn't, even with the right items, end the game and win. So this is where those abilities on the locations come into play again, because I can use those locations not only to keep the spy away from me, but to force the spy onto the tracking bug, or to pull the spy closer to me at the end of the game so that I can catch up with them to make that final accusation. So the abilities on those locations are actually a lot more important than they seem at first glance, and I really like the way that those play in. So at the end of the day, does this game fit this sort of cinematic experience idea that Wonderspell is going for? The answer for me is yes, very much. I think it does. We've got this tension from the push your luck aspect of the game. We've got this sort of thematic goodness of you as the agent pursuing the spy, but also hiding and sneaking so the spy doesn't see you and hurt you along the way. Finding the evidence, disarming bombs or avoiding bombs. And there's this whole sort of feeling of not just is there pressure on me to get things done, there's the ticking time to put more pressure to get things done in a certain amount of time. But then the things that you're doing are actually pretty thematic as well. And it really does give you this sort of edge of your seat, can I do it feeling while you're playing the game. In fact, the very first time I played this game, I made it to the very end. The timer was ticking down. I knew 2 of the pieces of evidence and I knew the red herring. So I had eliminated the red herring. I had 2 pieces of items, or 2 items in my hand, and I had 1 or 2 other items. And I didn't have any time, so I just had to make the accusation and pray that one of those other 2 items in my hand was the correct evidence that I needed to accuse the spy. And sure enough, it was. And I ended the game with a loud exclamation. Like, I actually shouted at the end, yay, like, this is great, I've done it. And those are the kinds of feelings that it's great to have, especially when you're aiming for this sort of cinematic feeling, right? When you watch a movie and something big happens, you gasp, or you cheer, or you make these expressive noises, and this game brings that out when you play it. So I do have some issues with some of the luck. I do have some issues with the deduction, right? It's not really a deduction game. I went into this game thinking I'm going to be deducing these clues and figuring out the evidence, but really it's not. It's a cat and mouse game where you're using hand management to uncover the right things and then make the accusation. And it's more about managing time and more about managing the abilities on the cards and the items that you have in your hand, and when you use the clues to buy things. So once I got past the fact that it's not really a deduction game, that sort of got put to the side and I didn't care about that as much anymore. But there is still that luck in the cards and the way they come out. So this is not my favorite game of all time, but not every game can be the favorite game of all time. I get a lot of fun out of this game. I do get that cinematic feel out of this game. And best thing of all, this is a 54 card, basically standard card deck with the 2 Joker deck of cards. Comes in a tuck box. That's portable. That's a great portable, quick game that gives you this great cinematic feeling. Stick it in your pocket, throw it in your bag, and take it with you. It's a solo game, a card game. If I was going to pull out a deck of cards and play solitaire, I'd much prefer to play this game by pulling out this deck of cards and playing through this very thematic experience. So while there are some issues I do have with this game, I really enjoy it and I will definitely be hanging on to this game. If this all sounds like something you'd be interested, definitely check it out. As I said, the Kickstarter is starting at the end of this month, I believe April 28th. I will put a link down below, so definitely go and check this out on Kickstarter. If you don't have time or if you watch this too late to catch the Kickstarter, definitely follow up with it. Find it on Wonderspell's website. Definitely check this game out. Again, this is a cool game. This is a cool new company to be checking out and following and keeping up with. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. And if you did, as always, please like and subscribe below. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.